Okay, we are live and we are going to talk about rebranding and manufacturing. I'll keep myself on mute for a couple of minutes before we start. If you have any questions, put your question in the comment box and we'll try and handle that. Okay, I'll start now. Particularly, I'll talk about the stuff from the point of view we have to go back in the timeline or on the timeline. Perhaps we have to go back to 2020 because right now, if you see the global landscape and understand how the data sets are working, and particularly from the point of view, Chat-GPT introducing their stuff in India for, I would rather say, just uh, just something less than a Starbucks coffee, um, which is, I think, a good plan of action in terms of getting the data set of how Homo sapiens sapiens utilize data in whatever format they use and what they can achieve through that format. So there's a concept or understanding in terms of what prompts are. However, the need of the hour is to scale up oneself in understanding the language. And here, the language of English is something folks need to understand and they have to brush their skills. Most of the folks who are maybe at the manager position or at a top level, CXO level also, and particularly wherever the tech is involved, wherever the IP is involved, IP here stands for Internet Protocol. And wherever the Internet Protocol is being deployed or utilized, it is very important for the folks to understand the universal language, and the universal language of understanding Internet is English. English is taught in almost every country. It is kind of a binding or a binder which binds different dialects into one dialect. There have been instances whereby I'll talk about in the landscape of the intellectual property rights from filing the language of application. I was instrumental in filing one of the first, not first, but perhaps one of the first patent in that particular year, which was in Hindi. And there was a team member in my team who had studied in Hindi medium, and he had upskilled himself in terms of understanding the language of English, because which is very important when you're trying to understand patenting. And we were writing the patent claim section. And that time, I brush up my skill set in Hindi, where it was ki hum dawa karte hain. So Hindi itself plays a good vital role, because loads of folks from other countries are coming to our country and learning diverse language. The need of the hour is not only to upskill oneself in terms of English, but to understand more dialects. Because once you understand more dialects, you will be able to appreciate in terms of what algorithm is being deployed and for what purpose. A lot of codes need to be killed right now, because those codes are the glitches when uh, there's some kind of update happening, particularly from the point of view. I'll give you one example. Way back, few months back, I got some snapshots from somebody, and that was on the Android device, OnePlus. However, the there was some kind of malware in it, in terms of the pictures had come from United States. And when I received the picture, and before even I could open the file, the Android got corrupted. Until now, I haven't been able to use that particular device, OnePlus. I would be doing my uh, hardware upskilling. That's what the plan is, because I want to resolve the issue myself. But the point of contention here is a lot of glitches would be coming from a lot of places all over the world. It's not that one country is, pro internet, or one country is against internet. Internet protocol itself is one of the biggest protocol which is being rewritten right now. And the intention of this discussion is to understand and rebrand the manufacturing sector, which is already built up. The base is there, and when the base is there, then not much has to be done in terms of the manufacturing. It is, you have to utilize the resources which are already there, and somehow you are able to run the factory setting 24/7, although 24 doesn't exist, but from metaphoric understanding, 24/7 words. I'll talk about the instance, particularly right now. If I talk about New Delhi is the capital, so there's something called as NCR, National Capital Region, and a lot of you pick up any of the labels from any of the places, whatever is available in Delhi, you will see a lot of manufacturing happening in the NCR, and particularly in the sector of automotive, we have electronics, FMCG, or FMCG sector is also there, but we need to look into the brands which are being introduced in India. I mean, I don't want to name that brand, because then it would be like demeaning the brand, but the user themselves should understand anything which is any brand which is utilizing stuff which is being stored over a period of time. There has to be some kind of additive, and that additive itself is not good for health. I mean, any kind of additive, how it will react to anybody's body, that's an unanswered question, because at any given point of time, there's so much of apoptosis happening in the biochemical reactions. So that has to be appreciated. If I talk about the powerhouse India is capturing right now, it is humongous. I think for the very first time, what has been achieved by India in last 1 decade was never achieved. And internet is perhaps in 2050. India perhaps is on a timeline of 2030, and perhaps the world at the back end is still struggling in 2025. So this is the trinity aspect right now, where the internet protocol is 2050, India is 2030, and rest all are just fighting for, for whatever they are. So that's how, the powerhouse of everything is India right now. If I talk about, we have, as a country, I'm just talking about Delhi and NCR, the infrastructure is robust. There are a lot of good companies who have been in the manufacturing field for almost 20, 30 years. And so it's almost, the second generation entrepreneurs or the third generation entrepreneurs are taking it over, and they are deploying tech, and they're inviting companies globally to use their resources to build upon it. So if you have any, I would rather say this video is for folks who are based out in any part of the world, just send me a DM on LinkedIn, and I will look into it, how we can collaborate in expanding your business in terms of the manufacturing, then the export also. The export is for those machines. I'm talking about the big machines, 50 tons, 25 tons, 100 tons. So you can understand the weight and the intricacies involved in developing such kind of a machine. Then if I have to talk about the industrial areas in Delhi NCR, I'm not getting into the Delhi part, because Delhi, again, it is always under a zone where when the pollution level increases in the industrial area, the government then pushes it to the NCR. So I'll right away go to Faridabad right now. So there's a lot of connectivity of the expressways. There's a lot of stuff which is already being developed in Faridabad. So there's a lot of MSME sectors based out in Faridabad. And Faridabad was developed way before Gurugram or Gurugram was developed in some ways. And I mean, Delhi has become as a warehouse kind of stuff, because all these WZ and RZ, addresses, they are the, like, WZ stands for west zone, and all these addresses are being used as a warehouse, because that is the backward side of any of these places in anywhere. So Delhi has become a warehouse in many parts, but at the same point of time, a lot of intellectual jobs are based out in Delhi, and the hub which is being developed is Noida, because it is far off from the city. A lot of infra has been developed, so a lot of IT work is being done in Noida itself. Um, yeah, I think that is one thing I want to discuss. Another thing I want to touch base is on the rebranding part. So rebranding, what I mean by rebranding is, it's not that you need to have a trademark, because today if I see the landscape of whatever trademarks have been filed in India, every third or fourth trademark is infringing upon the intellectual property right of another trademark. And until unless the consumer is not confused, it is very evident on the face of it that um, the trademark itself has lost its value. Because once, even if you have a registered trademark and that trademark is in the name of the company, and there's a dispute between the co-founders, honestly nothing is done at the ground level, because everybody is very silent. Everybody is happy that the competition is going away. So what is important here is to have a structure of your companies. One, it should not be only one parent company. There should be many parent companies. That concept has to be dissolved right now. If we just see what's happening in India also, in terms of how the enterprises were set up at the first instance. So you need to have a lot of parent companies, and under the lot of parent companies, you need to have these subsidiaries, which are sister concerns. Sister concerns itself has to have so it's like a diagrammatic representation, where you need to have, I won't say a flock of folks, but the division has to be very clear from day one. And if you're getting investment at any given point of time, I need to take a break right now. Just give me 5 minutes. If you have any questions, put your question in the comment box. I'll address it. Okay, I shared few links, and some of them are from my. So one such patent application was like the international patent is 2010. Perhaps if I just go look at the data, I think it was filed. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so there are a couple of stuff we need to understand when we are creating the pause. Um, Now let's let's understand the word P in the pause. It is not point, first of all. It is protocol. Now take pause. I will just write it down. Protocol of space. Okay. So for today, we are taking pause as protocol for space, and particularly this is relevant in respect of the last, if I have to take the data set, maybe 24 hours globally, if we see the events which have happened for whatever reasons. Let's try and code around POS, that is protocol of space, and understand that in the respect of the offline infra, which is already developed. There are a lot of things which are existing in reality, and it is important to draw a line, not a line in terms of coding, but the real infra which has been developed. And let me tell you, a lot of fiat currency, a lot of human capacity building, a lot of intellect goes into developing such kind of infra. And the importance here, when I talk about, which we started the video, was the rebranding part. What is branding and what is rebranding? Branding itself, I talked about in terms of the Trademark Act 1999. In my viewpoint, on a personal basis, I believe it should be abolished and we need to come up with something new. Why? Because currently most of the brands filed in the country is infringing upon other brands which might be based out in India or anywhere in the world in terms of the trademarking. So, say for example, under the pretext of tourism, somebody visits some country, you see a brand there, you come back to India, you look into the database and see that is not protected. You file a trademark for it, create a landscape around it. And when the brand tries to enter India, there are a lot of folks who have been doing this for the longest time. Now it is not applicable because internet protocol doesn't work that way. Having said that, that ministry of understanding has to be, I would say, diminished. When I say diminish, it has to end. It has to stop. Um, Particularly from the standpoint view of this blockchain understanding, banking sector for the first time is taken as absolute zero, because anything and everything which they have been doing is traumatizing the end customer. And when you're traumatizing the end customer is not happy. Then why the customer is going to pay the hard earned money to the bank in any way whatsoever? Another thing what has happened, particularly during the lockdown and after the lockdown, is a lot of these MBA colleges, which is said to be master colleges, they take in, folks from these so-called MBA colleges, and just for quality training purposes or in the name of quality training purposes, these people, they are given a set of customers and they are said, why don't you just call them and engage them in the call maybe for 10-15 minutes. See, this was applicable way back in the 90s where people really wanted to have a conversation. Nowadays, after the deployment of AI and in any factorial stuff in whatsoever manner, nobody is interested, or at least the intellectual people are not interested in giving their data set or giving their time for that manner. Time per se has lost its value in the internet protocol. Even the small t is equal to 0 and capital T is equal to 0. And when you deploy or when you utilize any of the equations where time is 0, people who really understand coding, they can definitely code new equations and see it from themselves what changes it is bringing to the code, to whatever they are part of, because there are zillion protocols which are working round the clock to make it happen in terms of so I'm using a few of these I would say applications whereby it states that you have to pay this money by this day, blah blah blah, in terms of the credit card. Now what they're doing is they launch these virtual coins when you are making the payments, and that virtual you get discounted coupons in terms of the service offerings. It can be good, it can be service, or it can be a package of both. Having said that, there is a society in the market which is not based out of India. It is an overall landscape over the years where they are trying to push that uh, they're trying to push this word TSTRESS, which honestly doesn't exist when you see from a Hawkeye approach. When I was studying law, and it's been almost 20, it's like I completed 15 years completing my law. So I know a little bit more than other people in the industry, because once you are doing something for the longest time, you become a donkey in that industry. By donkey, I mean somebody who knows his or her work on a daily basis. That being said, so there are certain subjects in law, and particularly I'm talking about 3 years law. I'm not talking about those, combined law packages where you do law and some I would rather say it's neither you become a lawyer, neither you understand the subject. So I'm talking about people who do 3 years proper law, because those subjects are different. And there is an emphasis again on the understanding of sound mind and unsound mind. And when I saw these case studies and when I saw the things happening in the court of law, and talking about the lower courts in India, it is very easy to intermingle with somebody's mind and make them understand, which is called as gaslighting, that this particular thing is happening in your life, and daily, if you are putting that thought into somebody's mind, that person is ought to take a back step. And that is one reason you are seeing so much layoff right now in the sectors, particularly who are the people who are at the CXO and the manager positions, because they didn't upskill themselves. Now all these managers who are said to be TL, the team leaders, they really have to work. First thing, they have to upskill themselves. Second thing, they have to manage these young generations which are spoiled for no reason. And let me tell you, parenting is not taught in India. I think it should be a subject in India, particularly seeing the landscape of people who are coming in the workforce. I mean, you will take, like, you will say, I'll do it myself rather than, spending time on them. And that is one reason all these companies which are in the public domain, or in terms of doing their own business and who have taken investors' money, they are of the opinion they should pay us. And honestly speaking, I echo with them, because it's really impossible for people like us to have a conversation and get things done by them. They will just sit before the machine and do nothing. They're just waiting for 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and they just want to leave. So this is the current state of affairs, and that is why it is better to pay for the bundle tools, Perplexity and the others, rather than having a conversation with these people who are not ready to upskill themselves. Because even at the school level, everybody is getting 100 marks. So marks itself is like, if there are 40 students in a class and everybody is scoring 100, then there's something wrong in the education system, and particularly from the AI point of view. So this is something I want to discuss. If you have any questions, you can always DM. Right now, we are looking at the sector where we are bridging the gap of alignment in terms of we have the infra with us. We are looking for folks who really want to build something in terms of the machinery, and would be happy to work on that aspect, and also from the export point of view. So if you want to build something and export it to other countries, we are happy to do that. Thank you for watching out the video. Have a great day ahead.